Welcome to Canada's podcast. Cathal, welcome to Canada's podcast. Coming to you from Toronto, which is great. And as I always do at the beginning, before we get going, let everyone know, who you are. A little bit about your kind of basically not your elevator pitch, but just about yourself and why you're sitting in front of me, basically.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Philip. To start, Cahill is my name, obviously, as you mentioned. Right now, I've got two companies that I'm working on. One is called Digital Vision Media Group, and so that's a digital marketing agency. We focus on 4 very specific things. So I do fractional CMO consulting, growth advisory, you might call it. And then our agency focuses on PR, content marketing, and paid media. We don't touch anything else. We focus on what we're really, really good at, and we outsource, or we say, hey, you've got to have someone on your team to do the rest. Mm-hmm. So that is one aspect of where I'm focused on. And then in going through that journey, which I'm sure we'll talk about in terms of launching the agency, I got to a place where I thought, you know what, we want a better way of reaching our media contacts and getting PR out there. So we built a platform for that called Press Jockey. And that platform, Press Jockey, filters thousands of requests from around the web and gives you a very easy way to get up to 5 times more press with like 90% less effort. And so that's the thing that we just launched earlier this year. And we're constantly making updates to it with interesting things like AI and algorithms and all the rest. So that's what I'm up to right now.
So how did you get here? I mean, what's a little bit about your journey? I mean, why digital media? Why marketing? Why entrepreneurship? Why not a real job?
The real job question. So I never really worked a corporate job. It's just not been something that has been kind of in my blood, I suppose. Mm-hmm. I did at one point want to work on Wall Street and go down the big banking, hedge fund type of direction. But in university, I started a temporary staffing agency with a friend of mine at the time. We grew that and then, made a decent amount of money for a 6 to 8 month kind of period at the time. And I ended up closing that down, tried my hand at a number of different projects. None of those really worked out. And so I started to learn sales because I had read a number of books that said all CEOs have sales as the number one thing that they're really great at. Yes, they can manage people, but that's also part of sales. And so if you know how to sell, you can be a great CEO. So that's the direction I went. Worked for an agency that had about 26 offices around the world and did Wolf of Wall Street type sales. So really intense sales. Mm-hmm. After I left that, I wanted to learn marketing. So I figured, hey, I know how to sell someone on the phone. I know how to sell, directly, but I would like to learn how to do this at mass scale. So how do you really market to people en masse? And I decided to shift into more technology and got into the marketing side of things. And one thing led to another, and started helping a few friends with businesses, and that started to expand, and I started to get more clients, and we went from there. Mm-hmm. So that's the story in a nutshell.
Interesting. So through all of this time, you've always wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yes.
Because that's kind of, strange. A lot of people have jobs and, I personally think entrepreneurs have one thing in common. They can't keep a job because they won't shut their mouth, basically. But that's just my belief system. But what do you like most about being an entrepreneur? What keeps you here?
freedom and the unlimited ceiling. So one of the things that my partner and I do, her and I, like we travel the world. Like I can work from anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fantastic. Most people who have a corporate job, and if you've got a corporate job and you haven't kind of experimented with the remote working over the last couple of years, you should, or you've heard about remote working, obviously, and you've seen like, hey, you can probably do your work from anywhere. Unfortunately, we were locked down and it was in pandemic time, but this is not new to what I do. I've been working remotely from different places around the world for 7 years. And so this is one of the things that I really like about it. And then also the unlimited ceiling in terms of how much you are able to impact others, how much you're able to make, and then just control of your own projects and your own destiny. Like I've got ideas that I want to create, and I don't necessarily want to be beholden to other people who want me to do meaningless work. So,
Been a challenge. Challenges, which I think is something we hit quite a lot as an entrepreneur. What's the greatest challenge you've faced to date, and how did you overcome it?
I think it depends. I think one of the ongoing challenges for entrepreneurs is to persevere. There's ups and downs for sure. And so I think it's important to have a very, strong mental fortitude, surround yourself by people, if you can, who are similar to you, watch inspirational videos, read books, learn from others, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that's one of the most difficult things. Like as an entrepreneur, like you'll make money and you'll lose money for sure. Both happen. But maintaining that perseverance and pushing forward when you don't really want to, I think is something that is super important.
Do you have a process, when you hit you hit a block, if you like? Is there a process you use to, get around the wall, whatever you want, whatever metaphor you want to use, kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't, off the top of my head, I might be able to say, I do find we had the same when we used to do sales. Motion creates emotion. And so if you are having a slow selling day or hour or whatever it might be, you got to get up and move around. And so this is one thing that I still think is really valuable. I know Steve Jobs used to like do this. Jeff Bezos does this. It's walking and getting outdoors. So I think that that's very important. I like to work out. And so, whatever it is that you do, whether it's spin class, yoga, walking,
Yeah,
going for a swim.
I'm a walker. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, like getting out and moving, I think changes your emotion, which then helps you get over those hurdles. And incorporating that into just your weekly life is super important as an entrepreneur, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mentorship is really important. At least it's been for me and for many others. What's the best piece of advice that you've received? That one that you carry in your hip pocket and it's there somehow or other. It's there, or maybe there isn't. But what is there anything you can think of on that front?
Never give up, Winston Churchill. And so I don't think your mentors necessarily have to be real life. I think like alive today.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's tremendous value in studying from anyone you connect with. It could be YouTube, it could be audio, it could be dead authors. It doesn't matter. But I think that one piece of advice, I've just always remember that. I think that's important in anything, like not just entrepreneurship, but it's entrepreneurship, health, learning new languages, travel, like overcoming any kind of obstacles you have in life. I think that's a really great way to think about it. Is just never give up, like keep pushing. You get to it, but it will take time maybe. And step by step, you just keep moving forward,
Sound like you've been very focused. This is where you wanted to be. But if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing? What else would you be doing?
Another idea. I've got like a list of ideas. It's like honestly, there's like 200 ideas. I've got, 150 domains that I've been sitting on. It's just like, I don't know. This is just a ridiculous
I've
amount.
only got 20.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those things where I look at my domain bill, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. So I would just be doing another idea, like just straight up.
Yeah. You said about books, books, podcasts, audio books. I don't really care which one. What are you currently reading? And more importantly for me, what book, whatever, would you recommend that somebody should definitely, read or listen to, basically?
It depends where you are in the process, right?
Right.
So if you are just starting out, it's going to sound maybe cliche, but some of the books that really have influenced my life were Rich Dad Poor Dad. So, it's a book that my mom gave to me. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think, just shifts your mindset in terms of, wait a second, there's a different way to approach building wealth. There's a different way to approach life. So I would definitely read that. Built to Sell. I know Mark Zuckerberg, I believe, has recommended that book. That book is fantastic for understanding how to systematize whatever you're doing, whether that's service work or whether that's a product or whether that's software. It's how do you systematize it? So I really like that book. I've also read Scaling Up. Now, this book is more like a textbook, and I think it's more if you're already in the throes of business and you're already moving along and you need that kind of coaching, mentorship, advice for very specific things. This book is like the Bible. It's like the go-to book for really technical, progression. So that book, I think, has also been really fantastic. So those are the three that I would recommend just off the top of my head.
And the fun one that I ask everybody, are you a morning or a night person?
I used to be a night and morning person for sure. Yeah. Like I don't wake up without an alarm, and I typically wake up between 6 and 7 a.m.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the morning. Okay.
Yeah.
6 and 7. Wish I could wake up that late.
That late.
If you had to pick one word to describe yourself, what would that word be, and why would you choose it?
I would say persistence is probably
Persistent?
persistent is probably one of the main words.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I say that? It's just how I approach things. Like I've been in difficult financial situations. I've been in, not difficult financial situations. I've failed a number of times. And I just keep on going forward,
Mm-hmm.
And so for me that it's not like a, hey, I have to be persistent. It's just something that I want to do. Like I know that that entrepreneurship is like, I've got 150, 200 ideas. Like there's got to be something that's going to succeed. And I want to bring those to the world. So let's persist. Let's move forward. Let's go.
What's keeping you up at night?
Speed of growth. It's, it's one of those things that I think every entrepreneur, every business owner wants to accelerate, right? Is growing faster. And so this is something that I think about is how do I think Peter Thiel has famously said, how do you take your 10-year goals and compress it into 6 months, which seems ridiculous. But if you can have that kind of mindset, it's not to say that you're going to do it in 6 months. Maybe you can, but it's more to do the thought exercise of how can you think outside the box per se to accelerate your growth to a level that is way, way beyond anything that you can imagine. And so this is what I think about the most is how can we accelerate growth?
you know, I know you're Canadian, but why? Why do you know what makes you stay in Canada, do business in Canada, versus you said you've traveled all over, versus go to other places that are probably bigger, have larger economies in Canada, and do business there.
We do business there. Like I'm physically located here, but
Yeah,
most of our clients and our pushes in the United States, you know,
right.
and I think that that's just it's good to be transparent about the fact that the United States has 10 times the population that Canada has, but really there's probably 20, 30 times more purchasing power. Valuations for companies are 5 to 10 times higher. The
Hmm.
amount of investment you'll get is 20 times more down in
Hmm.
the States.
Hmm.
So this is where we operate. And, again, I travel a lot. So, I lived in Los Angeles for about a year. I've lived in Austin, Texas for about a year and a half.
Hmm.
Like I spend time in the States and, you know, eventually we'll probably go down there. Yeah.
Good. All right. Interesting. There's more entrepreneurs in Canada per head than in the United States.
Is that correct? I'm absolutely
We
shocked.
have the largest entrepreneurial kind of percentage of any of the Western countries.
Wow.
It's
I think to your point,
the,
Canada really is a fantastic launch pad for
yeah,
entrepreneurs.
yeah.
We are very fortunate to have a lot of services to make sure that there is a bottom, like there's a floor that you're not really going to fall below. You know,
Mhm.
let's just call it.
Yeah.
You have healthcare taken care of. Now we pay a ridiculous amount of tax for that, for all of those services, but you've got that. You've got standardized education. You have the ability to borrow to go to university. University doesn't cost $50,000 a year like it may at Princeton or Harvard. And
Mhm.
so this creates a fantastic launching ground for entrepreneurship. And I think it is a great place to start, but it is not necessarily a great place to grow if you want to take your
Yeah,
business. Yeah,
there's a top.
exactly.
It really
Exactly.
depends what you want to do. That's really
Exactly.
sometimes that you can build yourself a perfectly good entrepreneurial life here. It just depends what business you're in and how ambitious.
Exactly.
Really, I think that those are the key things. You know what, Cale? We've come to the end of our time. Been some really good observations. If people want to get a hold of you, what's a good way to do that?
Yeah, the best way is to you can reach out to me. You can connect with our team at pressjockey.com. So there's options there. And you can also connect with our team at digitalvision.io. So Digital Vision Media Group is our agency for Action CMO consulting. And
Mhm.
pressjockey.com is where you can go for any of your press needs.
Okay. Thanks very much for coming on the Canvas podcast. It's been great meeting you.
Thanks for having me on.